This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
Well, welcome in all you roadies to another episode of the Fantasy Roadshow. It is Best Ball Friday, one of my favorite days of the week. And we are joined by a very special guest, Shane McCormick, one of the contributors for our very own Sports Ethos. Shane, how are you doing today, man?
Doing well. Excited to be here on my debut. I had to bring the Celsius out to drink for today. So
cheers. There we go.
True roadies got to have the Celsius.
That's right. The unofficial, official beverage of the Fantasy Roadshow.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane, welcome. So glad to have you on. I do want to say that this is our second recording of the introduction. Shane busted out the Celsius and gave us a live Celsius crack. It was an electric moment. I shot out of my seat and ran to the. It reminded me I had one in the freezer for the recording. It was an incredible moment. Shane, thanks for being a very loyal roadie. It's an honor to have fans in general, but I view you as a very bright, strong fantasy mind. We go through those mocks. I think mock draft Monday, you were the clear winner to me in that.
Absolutely.
So these are the type of brains we have at Sports Ethos. And, Shane, I want you to talk about some of the stuff you have going on over there so we can direct some eyeballs that way. But thanks so much for coming on. And why don't you talk about Sports Ethos a little bit and we'll get into a little background.
So we've got, Friday at 2:30, I'll be tweeting out, see my Twitter account there. We'll have a rookie show I'll be doing with Keith. So which rookies you should be targeting. There will be plenty of love for Bijan Robinson on my part. I will be on the hype train there, but a lot of good rookies this year, I think, in those middle to late rounds that could end up being good producers for you at some point in the season. So pretty deep rookie talent this year.
Safe to say we're going to hear from Deuce Vaughn or what?
So, yeah, Deuce, I'm telling you.
I see the Wildcats on the wall and then, Cowboy stuff. So I
was hog heaven when that draft pick made. The only thing better than that was if Dalton Kincaid would have been drafted by the Cowboys in the first round.
Yeah. Think about that. Holy shit.
Ooh, wow.
What a special moment that was too, though. His dad got to make the call. Like I saw that video and that was a heartfelt moment, man. That was very nice to see for the Cowboys.
Yeah. You know what I love about him is he's just got that obviously massive heart, which is invaluable for athletes, especially at this level. But when you see some of his reps in camp, you see the team like getting hyped up for him, right? So if he's able to go into live game action and kind of be the heartbeat of that, or like whenever they need a pick me up, or you know what I mean? If he can add those types of like emotional intangibles, I guess you can call it. That takes teams to the next level. So he's definitely an exciting prospect. So Shane, tell us about. I want to hear about like your background. How did you become a Cowboys fan? Where are you from? And then a little bit of you getting into the fantasy world and ending up at Sports Ethos and here with us today.
Yeah, so I'm from Wichita, Kansas, but I came out of the womb, I say, as a Dallas Cowboy fans, decades and decades of family fans. So no choice. Every year for Halloween, I was a different Cowboys player that I dressed up as. So experienced all the times. I mean, my first memory as a kid, as a Cowboys fan, was that NFC Championship game when Joe Montana ripped out the hearts of Cowboys fan in the back of the end zone to Dwight Clark over Everson Walls. So that was my first vivid memory of watching and then just literally crying after a game.
Man.
Yeah.
Was that one. So, but
What a moment.
That's the beauty of sports though, right? So that is like the other end of the spectrum. One of my first memories literally of life is watching the 90s Bulls, watching Jordan hit that shot against the Jazz late. And honestly, that's probably a huge part of why I am so passionate and sports are such a massive part of my life. You had the opposite side of emotions. But like, that's why we all love it, right? Is just like, it's that roller coaster and bringing that emotional side out. But so why, actually, I also wanted to ask Wichita, what makes you state over Jayhawks? What's the divide there in Kansas?
So it just comes down to kind of like personal choice. So I went to like a summer camp when I was in high school there, and I stayed in a dorm there for like 2 weeks. So that was my really deciding factor, was that. And I'm going to admit, like, a girl I liked that was in high school was going there too. So, when you're 18 years old, that plays a factor into your decision process also.
Oh yeah.
I saw a ring on your finger. Is that girl now your wife, or is that
That girl is not my wife. That girl is not my wife. So
okay.
she came later. So
okay.
it's like the Garth Brooks song, "Thank God for Unanswered Prayers,"
Yeah. I love it. So let's talk fantasy. What is it about fantasy sports that kind of makes you so passionate about it? Obviously the story about being a Cowboys fan, but what about fantasy particular, and how'd you get to Ethos, and give us a little bit of rundown?
So I got my start in fantasy, and I'm going to date myself here, but 1991 when I was a teenager. So started in an 8-man league. And then we actually have 7 of the original owners of that league still participating today. So
Legacy.
We have a legacy league. It started off where, I'm calling into the local sports radio station at 3:30. Hey, can you tell me who scored for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And, asking them who's scoring these touchdowns, since there's no real live updates. And, commissioner mailing out the report every week to us that had box scores and waiver wire pickups, and the current standings of the league. So that's kind of how I got started back then in that league, and how it's kind of, this league is so serious for us. We've created a history almanac of the league that documents every year and like who the all-star teams was of each year.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. What platform are you on now? You guys are obviously using technology now. What platform do you guys use?
So, here is our transitions of platforms. We started off obviously pen and paper, and then our first electronic platform was RT Sports.
Okay.
And then we went RT Sports to CBS for a year. And then after CBS, we transitioned to ESPN. And so we've been with ESPN for like 12 years now, and just stuck. I have tried to move out of ESPN, get the league to move away, just because I have my own issues I don't like about ESPN. But some of these guys, like, then they get used to something, they don't want to change. It's like my dad, he's still got his flip phone. I'm not switching to an iPhone.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sleeper just had an update. Did you like Sleeper? Do you play on Sleeper?
I love Sleeper. That's what I tried to get him to transition to.
Have you seen that recent mobile update they just released? Is just
I haven't.
It's fantastic. You go and update your phone after this, and it takes a little bit of poking around, but they've made it so efficient and just next level of service. Like, they're a fantasy app, right?
Mm-hmm.
ESPN's not a fantasy website, so they go all the bells and whistles, invest in the latest technology to stay ahead of the game. Sleeper's definitely where it's at. I agree.
Yeah, when I transitioned my league into sleeper, I didn't give anybody the option. I just said, "Hey, this is what we're doing now. You're either in or you're out. Okay, here's the invite." So
you got to do that sometimes as commissioner, right?
Yeah. But your story, I can't imagine being a commissioner of a league having like that. That's a real commissioner. As a commissioner, I don't do anything really other than make sure I keep the peace and I schedule the drafts. Other than that, there's really nothing involved with the commissioner, man. That is a real commissioner having to mail out the box scores. Oh. That is so intense. I can't even imagine all that work that had to go involved into that.
I mean, It was waiver wire Wednesday nights, and you'd have to call the commissioner's house phone, and whoever got in first at 8 p.m. got the first pickup.
I love that.
That is awesome.
I love it. That's awesome. So we're going to get into Best Ball Friday here, run through another Best Ball underdog draft, have Shane kind of give us his insights, pick his brain in the war room. Definitely our first time having a guest on for this, so it's going to sound different than our previous one, I imagine. But before we get into it, Shane, you mentioned that there's a voice doppelganger, and I've been thinking about it ever since you tweeted me that. We got to hear. We got to hear where it came from.
So everybody talks about their doppelganger they have, and but when I first heard Mike talking, I thought this voice, who is this voice? And I could not nail it. And so I'm sitting on the couch Friday night with my wife. We have our Friday night Netflix shows we're watching. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I've got it. I said, I know who Mike's voice is. And she's like, who the fuck is Mike? And what are you talking about? And I'm like, his voice doppelganger is Ryan Russillo.
Ryan Russillo. Wow.
Yes, it is uncanny.
That is a good that is a good voice doppelganger to have. I'm glad you gave me that. He I actually just recently started listening to his podcast. I never had gotten I've always liked Russillo, and he's just kind of a fun meathead and is really knowledgeable. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have
Ryan, if you could just start for the next show you do, tee up a little side-by-side audio of the two of them. Hopefully I haven't hyped this up too much and it turns out to be like Waterworld. It's got overhyped,
Yeah, no, I don't think it's been overhyped. Let's try to find something there, Ryan. Take a
I'll definitely do some work.
When you're driving back from Bloomington to Chicago today, throw on a Russillo podcast and see if you see the resemblance. I'm certainly going to do so as well. We'll see what happens there. But anyways, let's get into best ball. Shane, super excited to have you along for this ride, and everyone buckle up. Lobby going.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're ready to go here.
Yeah. So we got the 1-4. Shane, tell us about this. What do you see at that 1-4?
Gosh, it's probably in a PPR league to me. It's going to be probably Hill or Cup. Now, if Bijan slips there, I'm jumping on him all day, every day. I'm one of the Bijan truthers. So I'll love it. I'll take it every day.
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing for me. Well, Cup's hamstring, are we worried about that? That's one.
Yeah.
Two, the roster build here in these best balls, you get 3 wide receivers and a flex that you can start, so people go pretty heavy on wide receiver. So it's tough to pass up on Cup or Hill, but I'm with you, man. I'm such a Bijan guy here. Ryan, what are you thinking?
Well,
are you worried about Cup? Are you worried about Hill?
I am. I'm worried about Cup. I'm not as much worried about Hill. But Shane, I did want to mention this is a half PPR. Okay. And as of right here, this spot's tough. I like Travis Kelce. Tyreek Hill would be my pick, though. Tyreek Hill would be my pick.
All right, I'm cool with going Hill here. It's kind of hard to say anything negative about Hill. I mean, he's 1,700 yards last year.
With Tua not having a fully healthy season.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is certainly a wide receiver heavy early kind of, a lot of people love going wide receiver. So I totally get that. If I'm in a redraft, I'm probably taking Bijan there.
Yeah.
Especially if it's standard, 2 running back, 2 receiver, and a flex. That's just how high I am on Bijan. I think, Ryan and I have talked previously about he's a running back, right? So we have all this turmoil right now with running back contracts. Well, I think he has that skill set, kind of like McCaffrey, but almost a McCaffrey 2.0, where he's going to be involved in every part of the offense. He's not going to get paid. He's going to kind of readjust this running back market a little bit with how good he's going to be, explosive, catching the ball. But that's just my thoughts on Bijan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we have Bijan went at 7, followed by Kelsey, Eckler, and A.J. Brown at 10, followed by CeeDee Lamb. Picks are firing off the board.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the draft board here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and slide. Well, I guess Shane's gonna want to see the. I'm just gonna probably keep them both up and switch back and forth.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We've never had the 3-man team where we can't both see.
Yeah.
We're doing it on the fly. All right, so yeah, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, and Olave to start on that turn. CeeDee Lamb and Chubb. That's a pretty interesting start there. Where do I get?
Little interesting seeing Olave there that high.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would not take Olave over Garrett Wilson
or over Waddle. To be honest, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to do this, Ryan.
Can't you do half and half?
I'm going to try.
If you grab the window, yeah, you could do it like that. Usually, if you grab the window and move it around, if you go up, you see that little bar at the top. It'll give you the option to split the screen.
This is what we're going to be working with.
Yeah, I like it.
A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Austin Eckler. Those are some pretty good starts. You got Saquon, Pollard, Waddle off the board.
And we're about to be on the clock.
Yeah, and here we're on the clock now. Devontae's gone. So I feel like there's a tier break there at wide receiver. Could go Higgins there. There's a lot of talk about Ridley. Is this too early for him? I think so. What do you think here?
My personal pick would be Derrick Henry, but I'm curious to see what Shane has to think.
Yeah, with all the uncertainty with Taylor, I have Henry now over him.
All right, We're taking Henry.
Yeah, I think that's the right pick. That was kind of a tough spot there, man. Like I would almost be like tempted to go if Mahomes was my QB1, which he's not far off from that. It's like I have Allen as QB1 just because of I think he's going to have a huge year this year. I would have been tempted to go quarterback there because I don't know what to think about Taylor. I'm not in love with Higgins. And Derrick Henry, I mean, he's been a monster, but it's like not the sexiest second round pick, right? Like, I mean, if he's healthy all year, he's going to be great. But like, it's one of those things we'll see here in a little bit. It just doesn't seem that sexy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's getting older.
I'm trying to I think I have to have it a certain size, so this is what we're working with.
Technical difficulties over here on the Fantasy Road Show.
Everything's a first time for us right now. It's what makes it so fun, honestly. But yeah, we run into some of this stuff. All right, we're back on the clock. We got Hurts, Stevenson, Allen, Andrews, Jacobs. Man, this is another spot where we're not looking great at wide receiver.
I say we go Josh Allen.
Yeah, I'm about to say your QB1's right there.
Yeah, I was thinking the same, so I'm glad. All right, so, we've talked about this. Shane, I want to hear your thoughts. I typically like to get a positional advantage in these first few rounds. We're not necessarily doing that. I mean, we potentially have, top 5 wide receiver, my personal QB1. It's definitely more balanced approach. But what do you think about, early rounds? What's your strategy? What are you looking for?
So I think what you had said, the draft just didn't fall quite right. Like there was not a lot of receivers I loved there to go wide receiver. I've typically in drafts been going 2 wideouts in the first 3 rounds, but I'm not in love with taking T. Higgins in the second round.
I'm not either.
So, but I think there's something to be had, and it's a big advantage if you get Hurts, Mahomes, Allen, starting quarterback. I think that is such a high floor compared to others every week that you get.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. If I'm not getting those guys to fall to me, my Waddles in the second round or the guys that I'm really high on and targeting in the second, third, fourth round, then I'm looking at like that Herbert Lawrence range, because I still want one of those tier 1 or 2 quarterbacks, because I think, now in the fantasy landscape, there's such an advantage to having those guys where that didn't used to really be that way. Remember, you used to just be able to get player X here in the later rounds and you'd be totally fine. But that's changed. That's definitely changed. And I think that wide receiver strategy is catching on like fire this year because of the running back market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like is Josh Jacobs going to play? Is Dobbins going to play? Like, we just don't know. So let's see what we got. We got 4 picks till us. This is how the board's looking. What do you think about ETN this year? I've heard a lot of people worried, thinking Tank Bigsby is going to come in and have some massive role there, which I disagree with. But
I'm not a big ETN guy this year. I don't know. There's just a lot of metrics and stuff from last year that concerned me. What about this? What
about this? Sorry to cut you off. What about this? This wide receiver range is really interesting. I'm going to even add Drake London in there. So from London, Hopkins, Williams, Moore, who do you target in that field?
I personally probably had DJ Moore ranked highest, but I tell you what, I am coming around on Drake London a lot.
Yeah.
When I was looking at some of his stuff from last year, they're not going to be 31st in the league in pass attempts again, I don't think.
Ryan, you cool with this?
Absolutely. Don't ask me if I'm cool with drafting DJ Moore. Yes, I was drafting DJ Moore.
Yeah, your connection's really bad, Rye. I sorry, keep going. Drake London. Because I feel the same way about him as you. So I want to hear your take on Falcons in general.
So, if they come down, if they can get up to say 25th in the league in pass attempts, I mean, he still had almost 120 targets last year. I like that he can play the X or he can play the slot.
Yeah.
So he's got versatility. So, I mean, if you just bump up those pass attempts a little bit to the mid-20s, it's going to help out.
So here we are on the clock. I'm taking Ayuk here 10 out of 10 times. I want to hear you to agree with me. Are you an Ayuk guy?
I'm a huge Ayuk guy. I don't know why people are still taking Samuel over him 3 rounds ahead of time.
I completely agree. I mean, you have that wear and tear on Samuel. Just he plays so physical. And granted, he is outstanding, right? Like when he's on, and he's going to have some huge monster games, but Ayuk seems to be taking over as that surefire wide receiver 1 on the team, and he's going in the 5th round, and I can scoop him up. Now we have Tyreek Hill, DJ Moore, and Brandon Ayuk as the 3 starting quarterbacks, or 3 starting wide receivers, in our lineup. I mean, those are certainly all top guys on their team. Moore, you expect to be in an offense that takes a huge step forward. What Tyreek's going to do. So I'm feeling pretty good about this now. Early on, spreading yourself thin and not having that heavy wide receiver room. Well, we finally got the luck and a couple of our guys falling to us here. So I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable. It's tough. What are your thoughts on Aaron Jones? Because he's the other guy I look to there is like, if I can get Jones in the 5th round, I'm comfortable having him as a RB2 for sure, but even RB1, if I'm going that heavy on wide receiver early, it's like the guy's proven to be successful. I think personally he's going to be leaned on a lot. I want to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah, so Aaron Jones is my number one target. If I go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, I'm taking Aaron Jones in the 4th round. I mean, 4 straight years of top 12. We like consistency in fantasy football, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
I mean, and the team may not be as good this year. I think they're not favored in 7 out of their first 8 games, but that all it does is help Jones. If they're passing more, coming behind, he's that pass catching back.
Yeah. So I'm starting to maybe think that the reason why I think your fantasy brain, I'm so impressed by it, is because we have a lot of the same takes because I feel the same way about everything you've said so far. I mean, Aaron Jones, to me, it's like he's going to be that veteran presence that a first-year starter needs to lean on. So his value, in my mind, skyrockets, right? With just having that comfortable, like, veteran presence in the huddle. He's going to be the guy you lean on there, and he's just been so good, as you said, top 12 finishes. I love seeing him. He's been falling to the 5th in these drafts, 5th round, because of that, wide receiver heavy approach.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been scooping him up in almost every league. I mean, if I can get like Jamar Chase and a Waddle or a Devonta Smith in the first 2 rounds, and then you get, 3rd round, someone like Amari Cooper, and I'm 3 wide receivers heavy going into the 4th round, I don't even sweat because I know Jones is there.
Yeah.
So he's been rostered in a lot of my lineups there.
Yeah. And so, I'll have an article coming out on Sporty, so it's here soon, plug alert, that talks about the best values of each round. And it kept being a lot of running backs after the 3rd round. That was the best values of each round.
Yeah.
And I think that just shows you that, like, of all the years, this is a year where you can go wide receiver heavy, or take your tight end early, or take your quarterback early, because you're going to get value at running back from rounds 5 through 8.
Yeah, I mean, you see Dobbins here right now. I don't know how you feel about him. I know there's some injury worry, but like if I'm getting Dobbins in the 6th round, that offense I think is taking a huge step this year. See, look, Dobbins. I mean, to me, this is a no-brainer, right? Do you agree with that?
No-brainer. Yeah. I mean, like, the last 4 games last year, he showed he was over the injury.
I completely agree, and I think that offense as a whole, now you see like Lamar, none of that drama's around. I think so I'm a big Zay Flowers guy. I was before he got drafted to the Ravens, and some would say like a receiver going to the Ravens, that's a bad draw. I think the way that his skill set and Andrew's skill set combine, like they just are very different, but I think they're going to mesh so well. I just see that like quick shiftiness of Zay, and then that power just beast of Andrews. I think they're going to be so good together. Ryan, check out this roster. Since you've been gone, we've been killing it. So we
it's hard finding good internet. I don't even know if this is going to be stable. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Well, that's the road show, baby. Shit happens on the road. You got to just adapt and get going. So let's see. What do we think about here? Shane, I want to hear your thoughts. You got some running backs, Montgomery, Swift, Connor, White. That's kind of the tier there. I mean, Javonte, some people are getting hot on him. And then you got this Burks, Cooks, Tony, Moore. We're on the clock, so you got to be quick.
Okay, so if I'm going to go running back, and especially half PPR, I love the value of David Montgomery here. I think he's being underrated with all the Gibbs hype.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Let's go ahead and do that and see what happens here at wide receiver.
And I have a feeling you'll get one of those receivers coming back anyways.
And I love that we have Hill, Moore, and Ayuk. So you're right.
You guys got J.K. Dobbins too?
Look at this team right now.
Let's go. You guys are killing it.
Moore, Ayuk, Dobbins, and Montgomery. So I'm glad you talked me into Montgomery, because Ryan and I have been talking about how we need more shares of him. Because he is a great running back. I mean, like, Hughes did nothing but great things for the Bears, and the Lions going out and like saying we want him and going to pay him tells a lot about how they want to use him in the offense. Mm-hmm. And you're also hearing reports of Gibbs staying on the field and being used as a slot as like 2 running back approach and having Gibbs go in motion. They're going to get creative. That offense is so fun, and I'm glad we got a share of Montgomery there. Since we have more wide receivers depth, we can kind of, sacrifice this next round. And as you just said, one of the wide receivers are going to fall. We had 4 straight go off the board.
One of my favorites hasn't gone yet, so we'll keep the fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, Eli and Zay are the 2 guys that I probably looked for there. I do really like Dotson as well. I'm staying away from Tony for sure. Burks is interesting. I want to hear what you have to say about Cooks as a Cowboys fan.
So best number 2 receiver they've had in years. And that even goes back to when Gallup was 1,000-yard receiver. He did not have the same skill set as Brandon Cooks. Yeah. I don't understand the hate for Brandon Cooks. Everyone says, oh, but he bounces around team to team. But you know what he does team to team? 1,000 yards every time.
You're absolutely right, Shane. I've been trying to preach this choir for a while, and Mike's been fighting me on it. I'm so glad that you can back me up on this. Brandon Cooks all day.
Which is one of those things that's funny is because I've been a Cooks guy his entire career. I've been riding Cooks literally since day one. Every single year I've had shares of Cooks. There goes Eli. So we kind of did miss on those. Who is the guy that was your favorite?
Moore and Zay Flowers. Yep.
Yeah. Let's actually just dig in here before I keep talking about Cooks. Sky Moore is interesting. We're on the clock. Sutton. What do you like here, Shane?
I love the upside of Sky Moore. I don't know why people are taking Kadarius Toney over Sky Moore right now. Makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, all I've done is agree with you. I agree. That was exactly. Do you think there's a tier break there between Elijah and Zay, or is Sky like starting to inch? I mean, if he ends up being this number 2 receiving target after Kelsey, like his ceiling surpasses that, right? I mean, I think he probably has a higher ceiling than Zay and Elijah Moore, or maybe very similar. I don't know what you guys think there.
Yeah, I think they're at least probably coming to be. I think they're about to be on the same tier to me. I mean, Sky Moore.
It feels like he's inching up there. Doesn't it?
I mean, he's the only one have a full year in that offense. I mean, we know how difficult it is to learn an Andy Reid offense, so I'm not expecting a lot from the rookie Bryce to contribute there.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, I think he just has a little bit more risk than Flowers and Elijah.
All right, we're back on the clock.
Oh wow, here we go.
Gosh, this is going to be a weird one. We got to pull something out of our ass here in 20 seconds. Sutton, Jameson, Charbonneau, gosh, Boyd, Beckham. I really don't like anyone here. So if anyone sees something, yell it out. We got to pick.
Want to grab our second quarterback, Deshaun?
No, we got to go. I just took Ingram. I freaked out.
That's what happens with these quick clocks, man.
It's tough with 3 people for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't love Ingram, but we were going to get to Sean, which I guess I really wouldn't have minded. But we have Allen, so we don't really need another quarterback. I freaked out and took Ingram, so that's what we're going with.
I'm surprised that was kind of the highest ranked tight end.
Right. So I'm not an Ingram guy. He had an awesome year last year.
With Calvin Ridley.
That's baked into his price right now. But, yeah, I mean, I didn't like Sutton. I didn't like Jameson Williams. I didn't like Njoku. I didn't like Charbonneau. So we were just kind of talking. And
Boyd, Beckham. Yeah, we're just going to be reaching at that point.
This is how my brain went. It was like, fuck, I don't like anyone. Let's just roster fill. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I like the tight end that went after Ingram even better.
Freiermuth.
But there's value to be had tight end later for sure too.
Yeah, I don't know if you've watched these, so you see how I feel about Dulcich. For me, like, his talent's just outstanding. We've seen what Sean Payton does with tight ends. Really same with Russell Wilson. So I just think that team's inevitably going to take a step forward, and he's going to benefit from that. That being said, he's been flying up the draft, the ADP board. He was like behind Chigakonkwo, behind Kincaid, behind all these guys, and he's slowly just, passing each of those guys, which is interesting. Who would you have wanted to go there if we had talked that through? Well, I want to hear from both of you on that.
I'll start. I wanted to go. I just thought out of everybody that was there at this pocket of players, I thought it would be better to grab our second quarterback. Either Deshaun Watson or Daniel Jones was down there. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. What about you, Shane?
I would have said before this last weekend, I would have liked Charbonneau, but not after that injury concern. So
yeah, that's concerning, man.
Yeah, it is.
I love how you call him Charbonneau as well.
Of course. You got to fit in, right?
Yeah, I love it.
You know what's going on. Well, Charbonneau can make it to us here, and if he does, that's certainly an interesting pick. What do you think about any of these wide receivers? Boyd, Lazard, I guess Collins goes. He's a guy we've been targeting. Juju, I hate him. Dobbs, potentially.
Can I just say gross?
It's all gross.
We're at the time where it's gross.
Yeah. So what do you think? Is it Charbonneau the pick here? What do we start to look at? Eli, Herbert, Dobbs, McKinnon. I don't really know, man. Jacoby Myers.
I don't know. You might just go with what Ryan's saying. Go take your second QB now. Because we still got.
But now we've missed like everyone.
Did Jones go?
Yeah, they all went.
Yeah,
we are on the clock. Okay.
I would say that there's more value in one of the running backs right here. If you don't want to go running back, I like Romeo Dobbs. But between Herbert, Harris, and Mitchell, they're kind of all in the same pocket for me. I'd be fine with any one of those.
I want to go Mitchell. What do you think out of those three, Shane?
Yep, Mitchell's got some upside for sure.
Yeah, you know how I feel about Mitchell. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that because Ryan and I have had this debate where, like, I think that given how good that team is, Mitchell's going to have a role, whether that's 10 carries a game in order to take some of that load off of McCaffrey. If they're both healthy, Mitchell's still going to be involved in the offense just because they're so good that they don't need to waste, they don't need to put all that mileage on CMC. I'm interested to hear what you think about that backfield.
When they were both healthy, Mitchell carved out a decent little amount of touches and rolls in that offense when they were both healthy on the field at the same time.
I think he averaged like 12 and a half carries. It was like 18 that one game, which was the biggest sample size. It was like 18, 9, and 8. Where we have an episode coming out here soon where we talked about that and kind of broke it down. But that's exactly what I saw was like it's almost like a hot hand approach. If McCaffrey's not running it well, they're not scared to just pound it and give it to Eli as his game.
On the clock. Back
on the clock. Myers, Mooney, Rodgers and Dulcich if we have to get desperate, but Kincaid I like him better. I am actually cool with going Kincaid here if you don't love one of these wide receivers.
I like him.
Yeah. So now, we still get a tight end that we love. Ingram he's going to give us some starting weeks. We can forget about tight end for the rest of the draft and focus on getting depth now. So, whatever, turn lemons into lemonade, Look at this. Henry, Dobbins, Montgomery, and Mitchell is our running back room. Josh Allen, we have the best quarterback in the game. So, between these first three guys, those are all starting running backs that have pretty high, rushing upside, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's targeting these PPR type backs because, granted, they have those cheat code receptions, that kind of thing. But because of that, some of these rushing running backs are starting to have value baked into their ADP. People look at Dobbins and they're like, he is, he gets injured and he runs the ball too much.
Or Lamar runs too much.
Or Lamar runs too much. So what? We got him in the – where do we get him? 69. Pick 69 is where we got Dobbins. I mean, you saw how he ran the ball late in the season. You saw how he ran the ball with the Buckeyes. I mean, that's kind of the same with Henry, right? Henry doesn't catch the ball. He started to catch the ball last year.
He had his career high in targets, receptions, and yards last year. Yeah. Like, he was getting involved.
And yeah, Dobbins didn't catch the ball a lot, but are we for sure in this new offense that he's not going to have more called passing plays to Dobbins, and he can catch?
Yeah, I think he will.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, they're just going to do so much different. I would actually – that's something I want to make note of and look into is Monken's offense. Like, how much does he get the running back involved there? I know he's going to be throwing it more, so you imagine there will be more there for Dobbins. But that's definitely something to look into. I want to learn a little bit more about his offense. I don't know if you guys have anything that you've picked up on from him as a coordinator.
Well, I mean, you watch a lot of SEC football. He was with Georgia. You know, did Georgia?
That's where he came from. I honestly didn't even.
His most recent job was from Georgia, and then he came also from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, where they set like team high touchdowns,
with
yardage.
Fournette?
I think it was right before Fournette. It was during the Jameson era where he threw for 50 touchdowns and 30 interceptions.
Oh, Winston? Yeah, dude. When he was just letting it fucking rip.
That was the Todd Monken offense.
Okay. All right. 4 picks until us. Jamal, Tank. Are you a Tank guy, Shane?
I am. I like him. Yep.
Okay.
There's a lot to get into with him, but yeah, I like him.
Well, he's a serious option here. I don't mind getting Tank shares. I'll explain my Tank take.
Yeah, there you go. Your Tank take.
Thielen, like, what do you make of the wide receiver room in Carolina? Because someone's gonna have a lot of value based on where they're all getting drafted.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me. I mean, I tend to not go with a guy with Thielen. I'll go for a little bit more of the upside play with like Mingo. I actually think like, not that we select him here, but I think Hayden Hurst in that offense could be targeted a lot. But
on the clock, Osborne, what do we think here again? I mean, Russell's sitting there.
I like Russell.
Do you like Osborne, MVS? Do we like any of these guys? Chark, we can get him on the turn.
Yeah, get him on the turn. If you were going to take a third quarterback, it'd be Wilson.
This is our second, right? Yeah.
Second? Okay. Yeah, then for sure.
So I love that. He's another guy. I love getting guys that people have been burned on them the year before, and they're so sour about it that his ADP drops down to what is QB 19, QB 18. It's Russell Wilson, man. Like, if he turns it on, which that's all we've really seen in his career at all, that's going to be a huge value.
Yeah, if Russell wasn't there, I would have mentioned KJ Osborne. Mike, you know my love for KJ. Last 5 games of the year last year averaged over 18 fantasy points per game. Like, he ended the year on a good note. I mean, yeah, they have Addison, but I'm curious to see how that all shakes out in that offense.
So are you Osborne over Chark? Is that in our rankings? Do I need to do this to you where I put you on the spot? Have you seen that, Shane?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he likes to call me out. Please pull it up, actually. Please do. Where is
Chark over Osborne? Yeah.
Wow, look at that. Yeah, and that's just for the upside that Chark has. Could be the wide receiver one.
God.
KJ does not have that upside, but I think KJ is a safer pick than Chark.
Let's roll the dice. Let's go KJ and see if Chark falls. I'm feeling crazy.
I like it.
I don't think he's going to, and I think that was the wrong move. I don't like Osborne. I think he kind of had his opportunity to stand out and prove that he's like that secondary piece to Jefferson, and he just didn't do it. That's why you draft an Addison. And then you bring in Hawkinson, who's just going to be a target hog. So, Ryan knows my thoughts there. What do you think? Do you see an avenue for him to be a legitimate piece?
Well, when you're comparing the two players, I'm always going to opt for the guy in the better offense that's going to be throwing quite a bit more. So I'll opt for that number 3 wide receiver as opposed to the same number 3 on a team with a rookie quarterback that may not be probably won't be throwing as much.
Yeah. So I like Osborne in this format, in this best ball format. I do like Osborne a lot because you can go deep, right? Like he is going to go deep and have these home run type plays. That's just the kind of receiver he is. He'll catch a 60-yard touchdown, and that will immediately put him in our starting roster. You know what I mean?
Well, then think about, oh my gosh, if something were to happen to Addison, at some point.
Oh, that's when injury upside. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. We've talked about a lot of injury upside, and like Quentin Johnson, I think maybe has the most in the entire league. Could you imagine if something happens to Mike Williams and they let him just unleash the beast? That could be so exciting.
Yeah.
There goes Rashid Shaheed. So there goes Chark. We got 4 picks. What's our roster build look like? We got 4 running backs, 5. We're pretty balanced. We can go, at this point in the draft, we're stacking running backs and wide receivers. Any upside you see possible? What do you think about Jerome Ford?
There's 2 guys in that division I love. I love Jerome Ford and I love Chase Brown.
Yeah, Chase Brown, man. Now that Travion got dinged up, and there's like, I thought he was going to win that job regardless, but Ford,
agreed.
Damn it.
Yeah, I mean, the guy had 20-plus touches in every game last year in college.
Yep.
Fighting Illini, baby.
Yep.
All right, so here's where we can start getting pretty cute. Or just going to get our guys, I guess I should say, not getting cute. Jaden Reed, do you think he has a role? I'm just going to start firing off guys, and you tell me if you like him, Shane. Jaden Reed, John Mechie, Jeff Wilson, does he have a role in the offense, in the running back room for Miami? Give me those 3 guys.
I like Mechie a lot. He's a guy I'm targeting late in drafts. Potential to be the number 1 target there.
Yeah. What about Mostert or Wilson? Who do you lean?
I lean Wilson.
Okay. Well, let's try to just get Wilson and Mechie here and grab 2 of our guys. I would completely agree with you. I almost would rather take Mechie there first because I like him more. I think, he was so good.
I thought you were going to take Mechie first.
I know. I probably should have, especially because Dalvin Cook could get signed to Miami any day now. But if he doesn't, I like Jeff Wilson. There goes Jaden Reed. Come on, give us Mechie. So I don't have to. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
All right.
Lock him in.
So, yeah, Mechie's so talented, man. And, like, being a rookie quarterback coming into that offense, like, anyone can be – there's no chemistry built already, right? So that's a wide receiver room that's wide open. Schultz is going to be your, like, safety net, your sure-handed safety net. But other than that, it's really up for grabs.
Yeah.
And
I like Schultz this year.
Schultz. Yeah. Tell us about Schultz. I mean, what do you think?
He
coming from
was
the
Cowboy.
So I was glad they didn't make the choice to sign him just because of the money and the production that he had. But he will be a good security blanket for a rookie quarterback. I mean, he just gets into those open zone spaces and knows how to put himself in the right spot. But he's not a guy you pay, $10 million a year for tight end position.
Yeah, no, I think he found a good home in that, like, they need him to live up to kind of that production and who he was as the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if he went to a crowded offense like let's say Bengals, he's just going to phase out. You know what I mean? There's not enough targets for him there to really hear his name. So that he goes to Houston in an offense that just needs a veteran presence and should have a pretty good role. Gesicki, that's an interesting guy late that we've targeted a little bit. just because like what is going on with the Patriots offense.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm taking tight ends, especially late, I always look for the guys that are going to line up 40, 50% or more in the slot position. Makes a big difference to me.
That's a great point.
Also, teams with quote unquote murky wide receiving groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of Tyquan Thornton, and I don't like his camp news, so I'm starting to get turned off to him. But he was a guy I liked. Had a great camp last year. Unfortunately, got hurt, and was hoping he would come out and have another good camp. But the news has not been so positive. What do we like here? I mean, I don't like Gus, but he does handcuff Dobbins. Richie James, I don't really like him. Devonta, I don't like him. Hunter Renfrow.
Did we lose our Chase Brown?
I think he's gone. He has to be.
Yeah, must have. Okay.
I don't know. I didn't see his name out there.
I don't either. So let's take a look to see if he's around. Chase. Our buddy Chase is still hanging around.
Let's go.
I don't want to let him drop too much further, but I think we can get him on the turn. Right?
What's his ADP?
Yeah, his ADP's in the 200s, and we're
going to be at 196.
Yeah.
I think there's 5 running backs in front of him. So do we like anyone? Tyquan, Richie James? No. Leonard, Hurst, we talked about him. Let's just go Hurst. Fuck it. We tend to go to either 3.
Yeah.
We tend to go either 3 quarterbacks or tight ends, and having Josh Allen, we can comfortably go to 2 quarterbacks there. I mean, we have him and Russell, so we're fine. That's why it's like.
Yeah, and since we grabbed Evan Ingram as our tight end 1, I'd feel comfortable with 3. So that was a good.
Those are 3 good tight ends, man.
I think Hurst is going to be interesting this year. Really interesting. He's not talked about at all.
I totally agree. Ryan, by the way, to note, this Chase Brown pick we're about to have, we're getting him in the second to last round. Like, we need to be doing that in pretty much every single draft now.
Absolutely.
The fact that his ADP hasn't shot up at all from that injury news, and there's no uncertainty that he's not running back 2, and Mixon's been great, but look at how much of a role Pirine had, right? Like,
yeah, Brown's going to carve out a role. I think when he gets the opportunities, he's going to show out, and they're going to want to keep him on the field as much as they can.
And I think last year when Mixon missed 3 or 4 games, I mean, Pirine was averaging like 24 points a game in that offense.
I think he had 2 top 5 finishes.
Yeah,
like that. What about who is going to be the backup piece to Madison? Because I think that RB2 is going to have a good shot. I'm not a Madison guy. I don't think he's that talented. I think his opportunity and his role is huge. But who's going to be? Is it McBride? Is it Chandler? One of those guys is going to have value. And I'm having a tough time figuring out which.
If you've heard any reports out of camp, the word on the street is it's Kene and Nwangu, however you pronounce his name. That's the reported backup right now.
What do you think? Have you heard anything, Shane?
No, I mean, I think, all those guys have been there. So it's not like one of them has a leg up, being in the system or anything. But they're all like day 3 picks. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I was impressed with McBride in college with what he did. He looked good.
Right. Yeah, he's a rookie, right? 7th round rookie, 5th to 7th round rookie. Yeah.
Something
all right.
Like
so who are we targeting here? Last pick of the draft. We are honestly, if there's any wide receiver, we got 6 wide receivers, so we're kind of good there too. I'm just going to scroll down and start yelling out names if you like anyone.
Paris Marshall.
You guys are gonna hate, or Ryan's gonna hate this, but I'm keeping an eye on Claypool. I really am. I'm just keeping a far away eye on Claypool.
You might as well just say you're keeping an eye on Allen Robinson then.
Yeah. No.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Who do we like? Anyone?
Evan Hull, man. With this whole murky
don't say
situation
it.
in Indy.
Shane, anyone from you? Sorry, Ryan. I'm just not gonna entertain that.
Another one stands out really, unless you just want to get that third QB for
I don't.
insurance, but
Wide receiver depth. Downs, Marshall. It's going to be Marshall.
part of
Unfortunately.
Marshall.
Yeah.
All right. Let's look at this team. Sorry, Ryan. You know how I feel about a running back from Northwestern.
Mike, you don't need to apologize. We're just throwing out names as a last pick, and he was worth the conversation to me with how the situation is developing in Indy, but no need to apologize, Mike.
I agree. I just don't. I can't do that.
Yeah, you like to cut me off when you don't like my takes. It's okay.
If you're sitting in the driver's seat with 30 seconds on the fucking clock.
Hey, cut it out, all right? I'm just giving you shit, all right?
Yes, I do cut you off.
I know
and
you
I apologize.
He's a little traumatic from that Evan Ingram panic pick,
Yeah, dude. I really am. Whatever. Let's see how this team plays out. All right, so
I
we
think
got
it's a great team.
Josh Allen, Russell Wilson. That's a great quarterback room. Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, Eli Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, and Chase Brown. I mean, that's a pretty fucking deep running back room. Like,
no issues with bye weeks. Yeah. No, I'm very happy with that.
You got to be happy with that. Speaking of buys, I'm just looking. 13-9 is what we're. Tyreek Hill, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Sky Moore. We got the Moore brothers, the My brothers again, Moore brothers again. Osborne, Mechie, and Marshall. If we can get if Sky Moore falls into that role that it's looking like he's on pace for, and then we get one of these guys to produce to a certain extent. I mean, week 10 is where we really need him, That could be a pretty deep, dangerous wide receiver room as well. And then at tight end, we do have Ingram, Kincaid, and Hurst. One of those guys is going to be top 10 for sure. Could we get a top 5 finish out of Kincaid? Probably.
Definitely in the cards.
Yeah, probably not Ingram. What do you think, Shane, about Kincaid?
I'm loving. So, everyone says don't take a rookie tight end. They never produce, with the exception of Kyle Pitts. But this guy is going to be like, I bet 55% or more of the time in the slot position, lined up. He's going to be a mismatch in the red zone for anyone that's covering him. Yeah. I just think he could easily emerge as the number 2 target there.
I know. It's so exciting to even say that. And we have Allen, right? Like, that's our stack there.
Yeah.
Outstanding. So that's who we have. That's who our stack is in this lineup. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, D. Foland. You've seen him in some of our mock drafts. Mm-hmm. He's a good college friend of mine. He is Bills diehard. And he gets, dissecting every interview. He has his ear really close to the ground there. And he's been saying since they drafted him, like, slot work for Kincaid. They think that he can replace that Cole Beasley-ish role. A different type of Cole Beasley, right? Because he's bigger, more talented. But if he ends up being that, like, sure-handed safety net, that gets you an extra 3 catches a game. And then if you already expect to see an expanded role out of him, I mean, you're starting to talk about wide receiver numbers. And in the tight end position, to have wide receiver numbers, that's shooting you up those ranks. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited about Kincaid and really the Bills in general. I want to show you our exposure and let you see what you think there. Jerome Ford, Amari Cooper, Laporta, McBride, Flowers, Aaron Jones, Dulcich, Tyquan Thornton, CeeDee Lamb, Bryce Young. Najee's another guy kind of like Aaron Jones who falls so far. And in he just gets such a heavy target share. So I don't know. It's just one of those picks, you know. Wilson, Chark, Eli, Akers, Marshall, Wilson, Chase Brown. We got a nice 25% share of him. Dobbins, Dubes. So this is, I'm not going to go all the way down, but you kind of see how we're shooting for certain guys late, letting the first few rounds fall as they do and going best available, and then having those Fords, Flowers, you know, having those Dulcich, having those certain guys in mind, and just kind of hammering them home. That's been our strategy right now. I'd say we've done 12 teams here, probably another 10 on Ryan's account, and we plan on ramping that up pretty significantly here over the next, I don't know, month, I guess, is all we have left.
Yep.
But all right, well, let's wrap up the draft. Shane, thanks so much. Loved having you on. Honestly, like, would love to have you on a lot more if you're open to that. During the season, you know, whether we talk weekly ranks, get you in for some Cowboys. One thing we plan on doing is having a guy from hopefully each fan base and each team, to where if something happens, we can bring you in and get a quick, 5-minute what's going on in the minds of Cowboys fans. Maybe bring you on and have you talk shit before an Eagles-Cowboys game to determine the division. We want to make this fun. We want everyone involved to have fun. So if you could be our Cowboys guy, we would love that.
Definitely. And I just want to say it now before the game start. It's not going to affect you fantasy, but just watch out for Deuce Vaughn and his effect on the offense.
Yeah.
The guy's going to be a dynamic weapon for coming out of the backfield, catching the ball, putting the ball in his hands in space.
I just recently saw some video clips of him out on the field catching balls and running around, and man, oh man, does he look tiny. He looks tiny out there, man.
He is. Yeah, he is.
But we all saw Sproles, so it's that's not a knock on him at all.
Have you played much like Mario Kart or any of those games, Shane?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of Toad. It reminds me of Toad because you saw that big helmet.
The big helmet, with the pad on it.
Yeah, that's what it was. Which Toad was always my character in Mario Kart. So
I need to clip some of his at practice where he's running around and just put on that. When you get the star in Mario Kart.
Yeah, get us a clip if you can. Well, Shane, thanks again. Ryan, why don't you sound us out here? And buckle up.